There is a moment, and every single person who has ever set foot on this city's cobblestones knows exactly what moment I'm talking about when Paris stops being a postcard and starts being a pulse. A heartbeat you feel through the soles of your shoes. A melody that rises from the Seine and wraps itself around your ribs and refuses to let go. That moment is coming for you today. In fact, it may have already started, right now, as you press play and lean a little closer to the screen. Today is yours. All of it. The soft gray of the early morning sky. The smell of butter melting in a pan before the rest of the world has woken up. The golden hour light that pours itself across Haussmann's grand boulevards like something spilled from a painter's dream. You won't rush this. You won't check a single box on a tourist list. You'll simply live inside this city for 24 hours. The way it was always meant to be lived slowly, hungrily, with your senses wide open and your expectations quietly set aside. Paris does not perform for you. It simply exists in all its worn elegance and stubborn beauty. And today you get to exist right alongside it. So breathe in, let your shoulders drop, and let's begin. The alarm doesn't wake you harshly here. What wakes you is something far more Parisian. The distant clatter of a metal shutter being rolled up on the street below. The low murmur of an early conversation in French you can't quite make out. And underneath it all, the city's own particular silence. Not the silence of absence. The silence of something enormous, holding its breath before it speaks. You swing your legs over the edge of the bed and press your feet to the cool parquet floor. The wooden boards sigh beneath you. The ceiling is impossibly high, the way only Parisian apartments manage. And the light pressing through the gap in the shutters is still pale, still tentative, still deciding what kind of day it wants to be. Pull on something simple, a jacket. You will need it. The mornings in Paris carry a chill that disappears by 10 but bites before 9. Step out onto the street and stop. Just stop, right there on the pavement, and take your first full breath of Paris morning air. It is unlike anything else. There is something of the river in it, a faint mineral coolness drifting up from the Seine. There is diesel from an early bus. There is the ghost of last night's rain on warm stone, and threading through all of it, faint but unmistakable, there is the smell of bread. Walk toward Italiano, let your nose guide you down the narrow street, past the single cafe with its single light on inside, where a man in an apron is arranging chairs with the unhurried authority of someone who has done this 10,000 times. Push open the door of the boulangerie. The bell above it announces you. Point to the croissant, the one in the middle of the tray, the one that has risen just slightly higher than the others, its layers pulling apart at the tip with a golden, papery edge that suggests it will shatter at the first touch. Ask for a café, a small espresso in a small cup. Stand at the counter. Parisians stand at their counters in the morning. They receive their fuel for the day with a certain brisk tenderness, and then they go back out into the city that needs them. Take your croissant. Feel the warmth of it through your fingers. Take a bite. And now be very still for just a moment. Let that happen to you. The way the layers separate, the way the butter releases not as a flavor but as a sensation, spreading across the roof of your mouth like something that has been waiting inside that pastry specifically for you. There are things you will forget about this trip. You will not forget this croissant. Take your coffee in one sip. Small, dark, immediate. Step back, outside. The sky has shifted while you were inside from pale silver to something warmer, faintly pink along the rooflines to the east. Walk south. The streets are still quiet enough that you can hear your own footsteps. Pay attention to that sound. The particular rhythm of shoe on old stone. These cobblestones have been walked by people who lived through things you have only read about. Your feet are the latest in a very long line of feet, and there is something both humbling and exhilarating about that thought at 6 in the morning with coffee still warm in your chest. When you reach the Seine, lean over the stone parapet and look down at the water. The river is darker than you expect, and slower. It does not rush the way rivers in other cities rush. It moves with the confidence of something that has always been here and intends to remain. The light is coming now, sliding across the surface in long golden strips, catching the ripple from a passing boat and spinning it into something briefly, absurdly beautiful. Stay here for a few minutes. Just stay. Let the city come awake around you, without rushing it. By 9 o'clock, Paris has found its rhythm. Make your way to the Marais. These streets were here before housemen remade the city in the 19th century. They bend and narrow and double back with a medieval logic that has nothing to do with efficiency and everything to do with centuries of accumulated decisions. The covered market on Rue de Bretagne, the Marché des Enfants Rouges, the oldest in Paris, breathes warm, spiced air out through its iron gates. The smell of Moroccan tagine and Japanese bento exists in the same square meter of air, separated by nothing more than an alleyway. And somehow this seems entirely natural. Paris has always been this, a city of accumulated arrivals, each one leaving its particular scent in the archive of the streets. Turn onto the Rue des Rosiers and look up as you walk, not at the shop fronts, but at the architecture above them. The wrought iron balconies, the carved stone lintels, the way the buildings seem to lean slightly toward each other across the narrow street, as if sharing a secret they've kept since the 17th century. When you reach the Place des Vosges, you will understand something about Paris that photographs cannot communicate. The square opens in front of you with sudden, formal beauty. 36 matching pavilions of pale stone and dark brick arranged in perfect symmetry. The arcaded walkways running all the way around, the trees in the garden clipped and orderly, the fountain at the center, catching the light. It is both intimate and imposing. It feels like walking into a room. Victor Hugo lived here. Stand in the center of the garden and let it be what it is. One of the most considered pieces of urban design ever created, and you are standing inside it on an ordinary morning, which is not ordinary at all. Now you are hungry. Not for a croissant, that was hours ago. Find a bistro on a side street. There is always a bistro on the side street in Paris. Eat the way Paris taught the world to eat lunch. Slowly, with a glass of wine, even though it is noon. With bread you tear and not cut. The plat du jour on the chalkboard is duck confit. The skin rendered to a thin amber crackle. The meat falling from the bone. The lentils underneath dressed with a mustard vinaigrette that cuts through the richness with surgical precision. Close your eyes. After the first forkful, what you are tasting is not just food. You are tasting 200 years of French culinary obsession, the accumulated knowledge of 1,000 grandmothers' kitchens. The waiter is not going to rush you. That is not how this works. If this video is making you feel something, if something in you is already quietly planning flights, then maybe you already know you belong in this kind of story. There are more cities waiting for you in this series. Hit subscribe and come along. Every week, a new city. Every city, a new version of you. The afternoon belongs to the slower self. The version of you that does not check the time. Cross to the Isle de la Cite, the original island. The seed from which this entire city grew. 2,000 years of continuous habitation on a sliver of land in the middle of a river. On the small footbridge connecting the two islands, you may find a street musician, a cellist, perhaps drawing something melancholy and enormous from the instrument in the open air. The notes expanding outward over the water in all directions. Listen for a moment. Drop something in the case. Keep walking. Find a bench at the tip of the island and sit, facing the river. The afternoon light has a different quality now, more golden, more horizontal, more interested in surfaces. The stone of the old buildings catches it and throws it back warm and honeyed. Let the city come to you for a while. There is a story about the founding of Paris. The Parisii tribe, the Celtic people who first settled on this island, believed it was protected by their river goddess Iguana. When the Romans came to take it in 52 BC, the Parisii burned their own city rather than surrender it. They preferred its absence to its occupation. That fierce, somewhat irrational love of place has never entirely left the city's character. Parisians still argue about Paris with the passion of people who would burn it before they'd let it be taken from them. Watch the boats on the river. Watch the light on the water. Let the afternoon lengthen. By 5 o'clock, you must be moving, because the light is doing something extraordinary. There is a phenomenon that photographers and painters know the way the particular angle of the sun, combined with the width of the Haussmann boulevards and the height of the uniform roof, creates channels of golden light that runs straight down the center of wide streets for 45 minutes at the end of the day. This is what they mean when they say, Paris glows. The The limestone catches the low sun and releases it back into the air as warmth and light simultaneously. Make your way to the Ponte Ina and stop in the center of the bridge. Turn and look. The Eiffel Tower stands before you closer than you expected, larger than photographs ever suggest. Its iron latticework dark against the illuminated sky. Here is what they don't tell you. It was built in 1889 as a temporary structure, intended to be demolished after 20 years. The Parisians, who first saw it, called it an eyesore, an iron asparagus, a blot on civilization. And yet it stayed. And now, 130 years later, it has become a shorthand for the whole idea of human aspiration made physical. The audacity of building something that tall, that ornate, that unnecessary, purely to say, we are here, and we are capable of this. Watch the light go. Watch the sky above the tower shift from gold to amber to the deep. Transparent blue the French call, Eliora bleu et bleu. Are they brief melancholy transition between day and night? When the sky holds both at once, the tower's lights will come on gradually, like something waking up. And then every hour on the hour, the sparkling lights will cascade across the entire structure for 5 minutes. And Paris will stand in the streets and look up, stand and look up. As the night settles in, Paris changes its clothes, the terraces fill, the wine flows. Find a wine bar in the 11th arrondissement, bare stone walls, natural wines on a chalkboard, bottles from regions you'll need to look up later. Order a glass of something orange. Order charcuterie. Sit next to strangers having the kind of conversation that sounds, even in a language you don't fully understand, like the most important conversation anyone has ever had. Paris at night generates this conviction that what is being said matters, that the people across the table matter, that the hour matters. It is deeply, possibly irrationally romantic, and you will not resist it. They walk back at some late hour, through streets quieter now, but never empty, past the Morris column plastered with concert posters, past the closed flower market still perfumed in the air around it, past the last cafe of the night with its single customer at the zinc bar. This walk is the city's final gift. Paris is handing you something as you walk, something you won't be able to name until you're home, back in your ordinary life, and you reach for it without knowing you're reaching. You'll find it in a moment of unexpected beauty on a Tuesday afternoon, in the memory of that croissant at 6:30 in the morning, in the sound of your own footsteps on old stone, in the tower lighting up against the blue hour sky. This is not a city you visit. It is a city that visits you long after you've left, long after the French phrases have blurred, long after you've forgotten the name of the street where you had the best meal of your life. Paris will still be there, somewhere just below the surface of an ordinary day, waiting for you to remember it. And now you're wondering where next. Which city hands you something you didn't know you needed? Which cobblestone street is already waiting with your name worn into it? The answer is coming. 7 days from now. Same time. Same place. Don't go far.